Hello there, cat people. Welcome to episode 3 of the Shelter Cats podcast. First and foremost, my cat Sophie, the queen of my little feline kingdom, is her birthday today. She turns 13. So happy birthday to my Sophie. She'll get extra special treats later and probably a big dinner because nobody likes her treats and her food more than myself. She is the queen of the household. She's the alpha cat. Everybody is afraid of her and defers to her in my cat hierarchy. So happy birthday, Sophie. And here's to another 13. Thank you everyone who's listened to my podcast. Apparently I crossed 10 listens, which to me, as an amateur, unprofessional podcaster, I think that sounds great. So thank you all very, very much. You could find me on the web at tylerthecat.com. That's tylerthecat.com. I'm on Facebook. Just search Shelter Cats and Redemption. You can find me on Instagram. Just search Cats Tech Ships. You'll have to request that I approve you because it's not a business Instagram and there's a lot of, fake profiles on Instagram. But you could find me all through those means. You could also email me, dan@tylerthecat.com. If you have a comment, question, just keep it civil is all I ask. So today's episode is called Tyler the Cat. It's all about how I met and adopted the very, 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 very first cat in my life and how he came to be literally the first cat that I ever adopted from a shelter and brought home, and my experience with the shelter system on the island and just how I came about adopting him. So if you remember from the last episode, I had finally, after 17 years without a cat, I had finally convinced my parents to let me adopt a cat. More like dictated it, perhaps. I don't know. I was taller than them. I was in my late 20s. I thought my shit didn't stink. I don't know. I had convinced them to let me adopt a cat. So, literally the next day, I jumped full force into this project. That was basically my all-encompassing obsession, was finding a cat and adopting a cat, getting the right cat, and bringing that cat home, and just having the experience of taking a cat out of a shelter and giving them a forever home, which I could tell you is almost better than sex. The best experience ever is when you first introduce a cat to your home and they're like, I get to live here? Really? This is for me? So even at that point, there was an internet, there was Yahoo, no Google yet. So I searched every shelter on the island. I made lists. I did research. I read whatever reviews existed at the time. I read stories. I asked friends. I went full force. That was my full-time job. And I worked at the time. But every waking moment I researched this. I went to every shelter on the island. One by one by one by one. From one end of Long Island to the other. Every shelter. And basically every visit went basically the same. Because I had one caveat. And here's where it might get a tiny bit controversial. It had to be a declawed cat. That was the deal. That was the only way I convinced my mother to allow a cat into the house without worrying about damaging the furniture. It had to be declawed. And I'm going to say this again. Had to be declawed. I wasn't going to declaw anything. I do not believe in that at all. Basically, go look at your hand. Like, put your hand out and just look at your hand right now. And look at your fingertips where the fingernails are. Imagine somebody clipped your hands right where the fingernail is. Right where the fingertip and the fingernail is. Imagine that first bit of your finger, somebody clipped it off. So you had no fingernail anymore. That's kinda what declawing a cat is like. So yeah, no, I didn't believe in that at all. But if one was already declawed and I clicked with it, that was the cat I was going to bring home. So every shelter visit went the same way. Hi, I'm adopting my first cat. Do you have any declawed cats? And they'd look at me like, "You're not going to declaw any, are you?" "No." "Do you have one already declawed?" I would never do that. Every visit went the same. And they'd always look at me like I was a monster because I wanted a declawed cat. I had to make myself clear, almost like I should have had a notarized letter from my parents. "We will never declaw an animal, but if you have one already declawed, that was the type of cat we're looking to bring home." I had to do that every single visit. And they'd always look at me funny, and I looked at so many cats of different colors, shapes, sizes, ages, and I just wasn't clicking with any of them. Because if you've ever been to a cat shelter, there's always several kinds of cats. There's always the cats that walk right up to you, take me home, please." There's always the, "I don't know about you, I'm going to watch you, but I'm not sure I want to go home with you." And there's always some cats that may have been feral, that may have been outside cats, or may have just had bad experiences where they're just happy where they are and they don't want to leave. That was the experience. And that's the kind of thing you had to weed through. You think online dating is bad now? That was nothing compared to trying to find the cat that said hello to me, the cat that I knew was my cat. So finally, after going to shelter after shelter after shelter, I happened upon what was basically one of the biggest shelters on Long Island. And it's called Little Shelter, which is a play on words because it's not little at all. It was one of the biggest shelters on the island. And it had dog adoptions. They had cat adoptions. They even had an animal cemetery. So, they kind of go full circle. I found that creepy at the time. That was basically one of my last visits, after which I was almost going to give up because I just wasn't finding the cat that I was looking for. So on a very chilly day in early December of the year 2000, I drove to Little Shelter in Suffolk County on Long Island. One Friday after work. I was immediately impressed with the place. Little Shelter, like I said, is one of the premier shelters on the island. They've been around since the 1920s and they do amazing work. I just had a feeling right away that I was going to find my cat there. It was just a feeling. Parking my car, I was met with a pet cemetery. Yep, it seems Little Shelter did go full circle. Cat and dog shelter and cemetery. Convenient, I guess. Get a cat, enjoy a life with it, lay it to rest, and then get a new one. Interesting prospect. Morbid, but interesting. Anyway, I walk into the lobby and was met with a nicer, older lady who asked me to fill out an application. Once that was done, which didn't take long at all, I was escorted to what they referred to as the cattery. It was basically a house on the grounds where all the cats were sheltered and cared for. Cats was an understatement. At the time, because I asked, they had no fewer than 350 cats living in this cattery house. Now that was a shit ton of cats. I just knew I was going to find my cat there. Just knew it. My escort to the cattery, and I'll never forget her, was this woman named Gail. She told me, 9 cats and was the resident cat expert. I said, 9 cats? She goes, yep, 9 cats. I couldn't believe it. What are you looking for? She asked me. Any specific color? Obviously expecting a snobby Long Island, it had to be beige, it had to be this, it had to be that. Apparently on Long Island, at the time, probably still, people matched their pets to their decor. That always annoyed me, and it still does. Match their personality to your decor, not the color of their fur. I'm looking for a cool, friendly cat. I still live at home with my parents, so we prefer one already declawed, was what I told Gail. Okay, we have a few. You would never declaw a cat, would you? Never, ever, ever. I've been asked that many times, and I did not want to go there again. So she accepted my answer. A short walk behind some barking dog kennels, and we were at the front door of the aforementioned cattery. Now, don't expect them all to approach you, Gail said. Many have been here for years and are really unadoptable at this point. Now that part I had already picked up from the other shelters. Yet it still made my heart sink a little. Some were just lifers. I felt bad for them. Now, if you picture it, a little house on the grounds of this shelter that had a screen door on the side where you would enter. The very first cat that greeted me at that door was Tyler. And what a handsome cat he was. Black and white tuxedo cat. All black. He had a white mouth and he had a white kind of big chest. I called it his bow tie. He had white front feet and he had white back legs. He always looked sharply dressed for a night out on the town. He had this look in his eyes the second he saw me, like he knew what you were thinking. And he knew from the second he looked at me that he was going to come home with me. And I'll never, ever forget the look he gave me. Just like he looked right into my heart, my soul. He knew before even I knew that he was coming home with me. That day, if not pretty soon after. And she saw the look on his face and the look on my face. She goes, "Oh, that's Tyler. I had him in mind for you. He's one of our declawed cats." And sure enough, he was all for declawed, which is not done very often, not done at all anymore, but certainly not at the time. I knelt down to greet him and he came right over, smelled me, rubbed me with his head and rolled right onto his back, which became one of his biggest tricks. He has the longest tail and the shiniest coat in this shelter. He's got attitude, but he's really a sweetheart, she kept saying to me. "How old is he?" I asked. "Oh, about 1.5 years, Gail said. The truth is, they don't really know for sure. Apparently, you could sort of guess the age of a cat by checking their teeth, sort of like checking the rings on a tree to see how old a tree is." "How did he end up here?" I asked. "Apparently, his owner moved and abandoned him," Gail explained. "Was that actually the truth? I don't actually know for sure. I never knew for sure. But you know what? It didn't fucking matter at all. I was hooked on this boy. I loved this cat from the second I saw him. He was adopted and brought back in October," she went on, "because he didn't get along with the other cats in the house," she cautioned. "So you might want to consider him as the only cat." I was already not listening to her because all I could think about was this Tyler. Sure enough, walking away from me for a second, Tyler started bickering with the other cats, many presumably with claws, yet he seemed to be holding his own. He never got into a fight, no swinging, no scratching. He would hiss or growl, and they would all back off. He definitely had swagger, and he definitely had presence. He seemed to be ruling the place. He had a little, I don't know, Don Corleone in him, or Edward G. Robinson. Yeah, see, he just had this don't fuck with me, okay? I don't have to hit you, just don't fuck with me. And I don't know, I got the biggest kick out of it. To be safe, and just to be absolutely certain, I did my due diligence. I let Gail walk me around the cattery to show me other cats. There sure are a lot of cats to look at. I felt like I was in the Star Trek episode with the Tribbles. Literally wall-to-wall cats. Some cute, some, not so cute. I saw what she meant. Many were never going to find homes. They just gave you a look that said it all. A look that said, "Come near me and I'll scratch your fucking eyes out." I wish I could take them all home. I really, really wished I could. I wish I could have just moved in there. Many were very, very sweet. I remember one in particular. I'll never forget him. His name was Vincent. He was all white. And in the little kitchen area where they, put food in bowls for the other cats, he always sat there and greeted all the staff and just watched them prepare the food bowls. He just sat there the whole time, and he would headbutt everybody that walked in. And sure enough, every time I walked up to him, he would headbutt me. Vincent also had no ears. Being an all-white cat apparently meant he was prone to cancer from too much sun, and that's how he lost his ears. So just picture this cute white cat with no ears that relentlessly headbutted everybody. He was definitely a cool cat. He was like the greeter at Target. Throughout it all, Tyler never left my side. Literally, he would walk either at my feet or up on one of the shelves along the walls to keep as close to eye level with me as possible. whenever I would turn to look at him, there he was, headbutting me, flipping onto his back to show me his little white stomach. It made me chuckle every single time. He trusted me and would not leave my sight literally from the second I walked in there. Tyler just knew. He just knew that he was coming home with me. And after a while of looking at the other cats, it just occurred to me, why the hell am I looking at other cats? Why am I even bothering? Because every time I looked, there he was. Like he was already my cat. So the decision was made. Tyler was coming home with me. That's it for today's episode. We'll continue the story of Tyler the cat because he definitely warrants a bunch of episodes. Once again, I'm at tylerthecat.com, and you can email me, dan@tylerthecat.com, and you can find me on Facebook at Shelter Cats and Redemption. Thank you so much. Have a great, great week, and I'll leave you with one tip a week, maybe more as it goes on. But I'll leave you with this one tip if you have cats of your own. Give them patience and love. Sounds obvious, but you'd be amazed how many people don't have patience. Cats need time to figure things out, especially if they're a shelter cat, or especially if they had a home before and they're new to your home. Cats need patience and love. If a cat hides under the bed, you know what? Give them space. Let them approach you when they're ready. Some cats don't hide. Some cats get scared very easily. I have some that as soon as I have anybody over, they dart under the bed. As soon as they leave, they come out. Is it safe? Every cat is different, but they all need patience and love. And you can trust me on this. The patience and the love will be rewarded. Have a great week.